I think if you go back 50 years ago, then the way a new medicine was discovered was it was one chemist plus a doctor that would try the medicine out on his patients. If you look now, then you have a whole range of skills, from the chemists to the biologists to the pharmacologists to the toxicologists that check whether things are safe and so on. So it's become much more of a team effort. And those teams are spread out through different departments in universities. They're spread out through consortia, in other words, different companies. What you'll find is that quite often no one company is big enough to have all of that expertise. So a lot of what you see TI Pharma doing successfully is bringing these consortia together. So you'd imagine that the most difficult thing is to bring two companies that have competing commercial interests together and get them working on the same product. In fact, it turns out that it's more complicated than that when you're bringing together two universities as well. So quite often getting academics to work together is just as complicated as getting companies to work together. And if you look in the big consortia that TI Pharma is running, usually it's several companies and it's several academic groups all working together. And that requires a special set of skills just to keep things moving, to keep things smooth, to keep the data flowing, because the information has to flow between all the different partners. And most importantly, to make sure the money is spent in the right places. So it's very easy to spend money, but it's very hard to spend money in exactly the right place at the right time. The venture capital industry is all about putting projects together, picking the right things to put together, funding them for as long as they need, and giving them all the money they need up to the key decision points, and then stopping. That's a very different funding model from, say, an academic grant, where you write a proposal and you get money for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, you have to explain what you did with it. So I think when you look at some of these big consortia models, then it's much better suited to a venture capital, let's pay based on rewards and let's stop if it's not working. And that's a very new experience for lots of people. Because remember that the pharmaceutical industry, the technology industries also are not used to that sort of funding model. So what it needs from TI Pharma then is the managers who know how to organize that. So you have to have advisory boards that can give very clear, very precise advice, independent of the projects. And secondly, they have to be able to then look at the projects and say, this is now time to stop. Or this project is going really, really well, now it needs twice as much funding. So it's that flexibility, not just saying, we agreed we would do all this, so let's carry on, despite what the results are. What new models of working together can we have to discover new drugs? In the last 20 years, then the tendency has been to have the companies internalize everything and manage everything themselves. And TI Pharma offered a new way of doing things where we open up much more the platforms of discovery into a collaborative mode involving everybody. And I think that's a really exciting vision. I think TI Pharma hit on a recipe for doing things really well. And now the question is, how can we start to apply that to a wider range of projects and a wider range of collaborations?